Okay, hi. This is Tony Groesbeck, and I'm writing, or this little video here is about how to write a research paper. This is the first step of 3. This is the pre-writing video. So, first of all, let me cite this. Most of the information in this presentation comes from Writers Inc. Copyright Right Source 2001. It's a book I use in my class. I highly recommend it. So, how to write a research paper. It's like a little bit like climbing a mountain. So there's a few steps that can help you get up there, and but hopefully it's a nice pretty mountain like this one, and it won't be so hard. Okay, but like I say, there's 3 stages: pre-writing, composition, and revision. Today we are going to focus on the pre-write, thinking it up. So that's like the light bulb guy here. So, going to pre-write. We're going to, when you're pre-writing for a research paper, I like to think that there are 9 steps for that. Okay, first of all, of course, you want to understand the assignment given to you by your instructor. If your teacher wants you to write a specific topic, then you need to do that. If it's pretty general, like ours is in class, then you want to make sure that you still fit the formatting and the length requirements of the assignment and all that kind of thing. And you need to understand what kind of research you need to do, how many sources are required of you, that kind of thing. Okay, then as you start searching for your subject, you're going to want to start broad. Okay, you don't want to start too narrow, because as you do research, you're going to learn more about it, so you're going to want to change it. At least refine it a little bit as you go. So you might want to use something like an idea web, which looks like this. Okay, this is the kind of idea web, or a what was the other word that they use for it? Darn it, so far away. They said subject cluster. I'm sorry, that's what it is. So the subject cluster, idea web. You start with your basic general idea here, and then you go off on all these things that are kind of related to it. And as you get further from the center, you get more and more narrow. Okay, so your topic gets more and more refined as you get further away. Okay. You don't want to get too narrow until you start researching, though. So you get those idea webs and get all kinds of these possible subjects. And then once you find some possible subjects, you want to ask yourself a few questions to see if you want to write this paper about it. The first one might be, is this subject interesting to me? That's a pretty easy question to answer most of the time, and it's very important. And then, does it meet the requirements of the assignment? Of course, that was number 1. That was the first thing you wanted to do. And then the third question might be, am I going to be able to find the information I need on this? Is this, I have, say, 2 weeks to do my research. You can get a lot done in 2 weeks, but if you can't drive, for instance, you're probably not going to be able to count on getting to the library more than maybe once. So you don't want to, pick a subject that's going to require that of you. And then, will I be able to narrow the topic down enough to fit in my paper? If I give you a 5-paragraph essay, as the assignment, then you don't want to write something that's so broad that you're going to need, 10 pages to fully explore the idea. So make sure that your idea fits the length of the paper. Okay? Then, when you start researching, you want to start with a wide net. You want to get all the information you can about your overall subject, about your general subject, and then narrow it down as you go. So as you become closer and closer to what your subject is, you're going to kind of find this to be the process that you go through. You start with the general subject, like environment conservation. Then you get a little bit more specific. Okay, which environment? The Sonoran Desert. Okay, so that's the Sonoran Desert is one specific environment. Good. And then the focus or the special interest. What is my point going to be? It's like, well, the effects of urban sprawl in the Phoenix metropolitan area would be an example of a topic that concerns environment conservation within the Sonoran Desert. So that's just kind of the example there of how to do that. Then once you kind of get that, you want to write a working thesis statement. I had a student call this the rough thesis, because that's really what it is. You start with a thesis statement, and then that gets you moving. And then you want to make sure that you are willing and able to change that if you want to, that you can go and look into it. Now, I did make a thesis video, and it should be on this same YouTube channel. It's the, how to write a thesis statement, that kind of thing. I use the actual embedded video here when I do class presentations, but if you want to go and watch this, it's probably right under this one or very close to the video where this one was listed. This is a soft thesis. I call it soft because it will likely change as you research. As you research and find out more about your topic, maybe your opinion will change or become more refined, and so you're going to want to change your thesis statement to reflect that. And this will help guide you. So this working thesis statement will get you started. And then you want to start your research. Now, here's some great questions to start with. Some really basic research questions. Who, what, when, where, why, and how kind of questions. What is my topic about? Who's involved in it? Where is it a concern? Why is it a concern? How can we fix it? How is it affecting people around? All those kind of things. And then as you go and research these questions, new questions will pop up, and you want to write those and then research those. So that's where the create new questions come in. And then you want to create your bibliography as you go. This is really important. You want to keep track of your sources. So on your computer, if you have a laptop, that's great. If not, you want to make sure that you're keeping a document open, like a Word document or something like that, and you keep adding every new resource that you find, every resource that you use. You need to cite that on there. So by the time you get to the end of your paper, you don't have to worry about spending an extra 2 hours putting together your bibliography because you've already done it. You might need to take 10 minutes to format it, but that's very different, isn't it? That's kind of a big deal. So if you can do this part right here, keep track of your sources and create a running list of resources on your computer, or at least in a notebook if you're still kind of in the pen and pencil and paper generation, then create a running list of resources, maybe on a legal pad or something. Okay, then as you take notes on research, it's a good time to think about what a reliable source is. Primary sources are the best. That means somebody who is there or is a direct part of whatever it is that you're researching. So if you're doing like a science paper, you can get somebody who's working on the team that's dealing with the problem or trying to solve it. Or secondary is not bad. If you can go and find an article written about it that quotes all those people, that'd be fine. But you want to make sure that as you take your notes, you remember why you need notes. The whole purpose of doing the research is to find enough evidence to support your thesis statement. Stuff that you can write into your paper that will make us believe that your thesis statement is true. Now, you want to take quotes, and if you do take quotes, you got to be exact. They got to have the exact wording, exact even punctuation, capitalization, all that stuff. And you need to use quotation marks to let the readers know that it is a quote. Okay? Also, you want to have a dictionary with you while you're doing your research. Some of you, have electronic dictionaries. That's cool. But when you need to look up a new word, you want to have that dictionary really handy so you can just look it right up so you can tell right away if that research is useful to you or not. I would highly suggest using note cards to take the information. You got to give them each a heading and then number code them with your bibliography. So in your bibliography, you'll have entries and you can number them. They'll all be numbered. And then on your note cards, you can put a little number up in the corner to tell you which source that note comes from, and that way you don't have to write the whole bibliography reference on every note card that you write. So it saves a lot of time, and it's a good way to do that. Once you get your research done, then you want to organize it, and this is why note cards are so handy, because what it'll help you do is logically arrange your note cards to support your thesis, so that you can kind of decide and move them around if you want, like little puzzle pieces, and figure out the way that you want to write this paper. But as you do your research, you're going to want to evaluate your working thesis. You want to make sure that thesis statement is still applicable, that it still works the way you want it to, and that it is still the paper you want to write. Because the thesis statement really is the paper. I mean, that's kind of the whole point. So that's what you're going to be supporting. And then you can make a writing plan, and you can make these almost just with your note cards. It's not an outline. It looks a little bit like this. Very simple, not such a tough thing to do. But once you get your note cards in order, then you can kind of say, you stack your note cards in these in these categories, and then you can go through and you can write an outline, which is of course much more detailed. It's going to look something like this. Now this is just a general outline about the library, using the library, that kind of thing. But the idea is that once you start doing all of this stuff, you can know if you need to go back to step 6, which is the research step. Okay? If you don't, if you're good, then you can move down to number 9, and you can make an outline. Okay, now remember, your outline is going to look like this. And you want to have a lot of detail in your outline. Not sentences, just details and notes to guide you. Because the actual writing of sentences doesn't happen until the composition stage. You want to feel free to just write a couple of words for each one of these little categories. Maybe these would all be different sentences, or maybe some of these would be combined for this particular paper about library. But you want to use Roman numerals, and then capital American letters, and then regular numerals, the kind that we use all the time, just the numbers. And then if you go even deeper than that, then you can use lowercase. You can use a number with parentheses around it, and you kind of go deeper and deeper into subcategories that way. Okay. I also did make a video on writing an outline, on how you want to do that, and how you format those, as far as how you organize your outline, especially according to like a Jane Schaefer. I did basically a Jane Schaefer outline there. So, but once you get that outline done, if you do a really great job, the rest of your stages are going to be pretty darn easy, and then you can move on to the compose stage, which will be another video. So if you have any other questions about the pre-writing for the research paper, please feel free to go back and watch this video as many times as you like. Thank you.